What is up, down, and sideways, you beautiful people? We are back here on League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. The previews are getting less and less. We're slowly getting closer to the World Championship actually starting off, Mark. We're getting there.
One more week, guys. We just got last week of squeezing every sort of preview you possibly can get for this event and make sure you are absolutely prepared and ready for this year's World Championship.
Yeah, we did obviously the group draw reaction, so we have kind of touched on all the groups, but today we're going to do a deeper dive specifically on play-ins because obviously that's what happens first, despite you're not allowed to do them in pick'ems. You know, saw a lot of the drama around that, you know.
Come on, we're not Riot Games. We support whatever type of fiestas we're going to be getting at the World Championship. Come on, how could we not support any type of fiesta? We cover the LCS all year long, damn it.
That's true, and cover it sometimes a little too much probably. It's like the delicious calamari before your main course. Sometimes the appetizer can be just as good, if not better, than the entree.
And especially after last year, how important play-ins were, how much intense fighting we saw from the teams, the unique picks coming across. Play-ins could not be a better place to be right now.
So we'll start with those Pool 1 teams, which are obviously the big four favorites to get out of play-ins and advance to the top 16. So Beyond Gaming, Cloud9, LNG, and Hanwha Life. But you only have to go as far back as last year to have one of those Pool 1 teams that were upset when you're talking about Mad Lions, who went 1-3 in the round robin, and LGD also went 1-3 and therefore had to play two best of fives to get out. We know that LNG and Hanwha are in the same group, but honestly, it's probably better to be in the same group. I think Cloud9 would rather be in a group with one of those teams so that they absolutely are going to avoid them if they do have to do best of fives.
Right, that is something that usually, you know, at the first glance, maybe even the second glance of looking at these groups can get overlooked, is that idea about if you're in the same group, you automatically avoid that type of team in the further round. That would have been valuable, yes, when you're looking at that way. And when you talk about the four favorites, the major type of teams in this play-ins, you said it right. Looking at last year, it's not a guarantee just because you're the big fish in the little pond that you're going to find the way out.
And listen, you even only have to go back to MSI. Cloud9's got DFM in their group, and this is DFM without a sub support. Gang is back in after yet another LGL title for the squad. We are accustomed to seeing DFM on the international stage, and this, I know it's easy to say Beyond Gaming should be the team that you have the least confidence in getting out as that number one seed, and they're obviously all still four favorites, but looking at how well they played against PSG, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not just about PSG and how they played in that obviously all-important series. Looking, more preparation for this for play-ins, I've seen a lot more of Beyond Gaming than I did throughout the whole year, and I keep getting impressed by this team, the way that they play, the composure that they have in a lot of these crucial and critical team fights. That's a big one for me that I'm looking at that can be an absolute big-time value when you're talking about the type of fiestas that we will see throughout the play-in event.
And for LNG or Hanwha, I'm just hard-pressed, regardless of how the round robin goes, unless they're going 0-4, which, by the way, definitely not going to happen. But in a best of five against pretty much anybody, I'm confident enough that they're going to come away with the victory. But Cloud9 and even Beyond Gaming, all it takes is going 2-2, maybe, in round robin, finishing third in that group, which is by no means out of the question. And then all of a sudden, you're playing the 2 seed from the other group, which is most likely going to be LNG or Hanwha, and Cloud9 or Beyond Gaming in a best of five versus them. One of the top four is getting knocked out.
Yeah, and I think one of the the things when you're looking at with these teams in LNG and Hanwha Life specifically, you're looking at what type of top level they can provide, and then you take that glance over to the other pool and you look at Cloud9, you're looking at Beyond Gaming, and as you mentioned, DFM is there, and it's DFM Prime, and it didn't even take DFM Prime to take down Cloud9 at MSI. What we're looking at, what we have seen and the way that this shapes up for the play-in event, if Cloud9 are at the very top of their game, they're playing the way that they were when they took down TSM, and you got big clutch game 5s coming through from Perks and Blabber, then this play-ins will be the way it should be for a seed, a number 1 seed, a top team in their group. If they slip, if their power is anywhere down, if their consistency is not at that top level, teams like DFM, teams like Beyond Gaming, others in this group can take advantage of Cloud9. They're not in that level that I would say I think an LNG or even a Hanwha Life can be at their very best.
And yes, the LPL and LCK 4th seeds should be sitting in that comfy 1-2 spot, but if you are looking at potential weaknesses or things to talk about for them, there's not much experience across the 2 rosters. Yes, Hanwha has Chovy, and Deft has been to the World Championship 5 times. Of course, that's about as veteran status as you can get, but the other 3 are all rookies on the international stage. And when you're talking about LNG, only Tarzan has actually been at a World Championship before.
Yeah, and the thing for me really with LNG specifically, and you can also add in Hanwha Life on that side, you'd be worried about overconfidence, that hubris that can happen at these events where you go, oh my goodness, play-ins? I don't care. We're LPL team. Did you not see us through the lower bracket? All these type of things. If you're feeding too much into that, I promise you overlook these teams just that slightest bit too much. Play-ins will bite you in the behind.
And LNG is very used to that LPL level competition. If you're including the regional finals, which they played 2 best-of-5s, throughout the entire playoff run for LNG, they played 27 games, Mark, from round 1 of the playoffs through losers into the regional finals. 27 games!
My man, LNG is battle tested, and that's why I don't want to see anything like, underestimating your opponent come into the play for a squad like LNG. And as you said, being inexperienced at this highest level of competition, that's where you can have some of these little things come up and obviously cause problems.
And for Hanwha, I think the main, obviously Morgan has been a concern that we saw throughout the regional finals and something to talk about. Also, Willer is a guy who, when he came in, the roster kind of switched and looked much better with him in that lineup, even towards the end of the regular season. But he's only been on the starting roster for 2 months, and he's only 18 years old. So there's just not a lot of pro experience under his belt yet.
Yeah, and when you're looking at Hanwha Life, I think a lot of people would realize and agree that for this play-in stage, absolutely you can lean in on Chovy, not only his skill, but the, a little bit of veteran there, as well as depth, right? You can lean on those two. But if you're going to go any further, if you're really going to showcase some power, as you said, it's going to be the inexperience. It's going to be the young guys on the squad that have to step up and find ways to also contribute to success.
It's Beyond and Cloud9, you're probably slightly less confident in than the other 2, as we mentioned, but nobody went undefeated at last year's play-ins, and LGD, it took them going through 2 rounds of best-of-5s. I'm not saying anyone's guaranteed getting through at this year's event.
I'm not willing to put any big guarantees on play-ins. We've learned some lessons about that through the World Championship. I'm absolutely going to put down a guarantee. Cloud9's not going to go perfect. I can guarantee you there's going to be a loss in there for North America during the play-in stage, and it's going to be about whether you can recoup, regather your mental, and capture the rest of the victories that you need. Because, yes, 1 loss, it sucks. It stinks. You don't want to have that as one of the top dogs in the play-in pool. But if you have 2, much worse than 1. Come on.
Hey, if you're a fan of NA, I know it's different teams, but last year Team Liquid didn't need the knockout round. That 3-1, they got a tiebreaker against Legacy eSports of all teams. Weren't expecting that, but they absolutely smashed that tiebreaker against the Oceanic League. So it's completely different teams, but maybe you have some carryover confidence if you are a fan of the LCS. So those are the Pool 1 squads, but who's going to be making these upsets if they do happen? Who are the dark horses? First one, obviously, we kind of touched on them already, is Detonation Focus Me. This is the 3rd World Championship for Evi, Steel, and Utapon all playing together. So they have more international experience than even squads like LNG and Hanwha Life, which is why they're kind of the first pick when you're talking about Pool 2 seeds.
Right, and not a lot has changed really over the course of that time that I think people have become accustomed to seeing Detonation Focus Me represent the LJL.
They just got a more hyped up mid laner now.
Absolutely, you're getting some more pop-off plays coming across from Detonation Focus Me, and as we mentioned earlier, you got your support back. Didn't have starting support for MSI, got them back now. They are geared up, ready to go for this time at a World Championship event, where last time, probably their most progress that they've made since they, made that splash onto the scene for a lot of people.
And they even lost a round in the LJL playoffs, had to go through losers to bounce back and beat Rascal Jesters 3-0. But yeah, they're definitely the Pool 2 team to watch. Also in that group with Cloud9, got to touch on Unicorns of Love, because I think this is a team, again, it's third worlds with this same core of Boss and Anasik, No Man's. Santis has been there for the majority of it. It's just Argonaut who's new in the bot lane. But after MSI, where they were in that group with RNG and Pentanet, and everyone, us included, we said, oh, great, free group for UOL to finish second. They won't beat RNG, but they're basically guaranteed second. They lose. They disappoint, drop in a couple of games to Pentanet. They've got to be looking for redemption on the international stage.
Yeah, we're not talking about 0-6 TSM levels of disappointment, but absolutely no real positives to take away from that MSI experience most recently for the Unicorns of Love. And when you look at them, what happened over summer, and as you said, as we mentioned with MSI, and the eyes towards this World Championship has to be on improvement, has to be on making some type of charge here at the play-ins event. And what we have seen from the Unicorns of Love and what we expected from them before and what happened throughout the summer, that expectation lines up that they have to be and should be better at this international event.
And, even throwing in the TCL Galatasaray eSports, there's a lot of new faces to the TCL coming over. Obviously, Bo Lulu's a guy who we saw last year with Supermassive, was part of that team that beat the Mad Lions, so they have that veteran presence. Their coach, Irene, used to coach Supermassive, and you might remember him from the LCS. Used to coach CLG and Evil Geniuses. He's back over to the TCL. And then top side, you have a former SKT top laner in Crazy.
You always love the play-ins because you will run into some old faces in some strange places that you wouldn't have expected. That's
LCK players love playing in the TCL.
That part is not strange. It's seeing Crazy again is what is a little bit. This is one of those territories when you talk about these teams and what they can provide. You overlook them for just a split second. You put too much ahead of yourselves. They'll find a way to make you need to readjust your focus pretty darn quick.
And on the Group A side of things, you've heard everyone say it's top heavy, obviously, with the LCK LPL 4th seed. But if we're looking for some noise to be made, just going through the squads, you have Infinity out of the Latin American scene, who dominated the regular season. It was 5 games in the finals for them. But they're also coming off a disappointment at MSI. They went 1-5. That lone win was against DFM, and it's the exact same roster coming back from MSI, looking again for a little bit of international redemption.
And what we saw from them at that MSI, the initial impression was good. The very first, 1-2 games, you were like, okay, you can be competitive. You can find some fight. This group, this is where it's going to be. And then it just dropped off the face of the earth, the rest of the performances. So yes, this is another squad that you can talk about that you have seen, that you've seen get to this level, have been up, have the results to back up being at this level and then falling down. Now they're back up to this plateau. Let's see how they can do at this World Championship.
And listen, you slept on them. We slept on them at MSI. The LCO, the Oceanic League, we were memeing Pentanet the whole time, but they showed up. They had some fun picks, so we got to preview. We got to talk about the squad at this year's event a little bit more. It's not Pentanet. It is Peace. And, well, they earned the spot. What's amazing about them is they finished 10-11. They were sub 500 in the regular season as that 5th seed heading into playoffs. Proceeded to go 12-2 throughout their playoff run, including a 3-0 versus Pentanet in those finals of the playoffs. Tally and Babip are the familiar LCO names on this squad, and they might be familiar to LCS people as well because they both played in Academy. Tally played for Golden Guardians Academy in Scouting Grounds, and Babip played in TSM Academy, and they were both on Legacy last year, who went 3-1 in the play-in round robin.
To be as far as it goes for the LCO, about as familiar as it will get for most of the mainstream fans.
Yeah,
I'm not always tuned into the LCO, but every now and then I like to check on in, catch some games if it's
a lot
the
of
right
familiar
time.
faces there still.
Absolutely, that's the type of thing that we're getting at. What we're seeing from them, the way that they play, a very, very familiar type of situation. And as you said, with Pentanet, they provided a couple of extra unexpected sparks at this year's MSI, hoping to see the same from Peace at this year's play-ins.
All it takes is one win to kind of shake up an entire group, right? And you've got the man in the top side, Vizichachi, making his return as an emergency substitute. Not the way you want to see him return, but I'm excited to see him back on the stage.
EU specialist coming in for the Australian
the mercenary.
Squad. There it is. He's going to be rocking in the top lane, and you better believe he's going to be a pretty solid option in this playing event in that top side against the competition he should be facing.
And finally, the other squad, Red Cannons, out of the CB Law. It's going to be an interesting one because you're talking about 3 rookies on the roster. Not just rookies to the international stage, but rookies to the professional scene in general. And whenever I see that on a roster, you're hesitant, of course, but it also screams potential. And I have no idea what they're going to show up, what level they're going to show up as. And the other teams are going to have no idea because there's not much to scout on these guys.
Relatively unexpected to some degree to see the Red Cannons come through for the CB lull.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, as you said, having the 3 rookies on the team, the type of experience, the type of lessons, the type of growth that you can show at this event, it's all there on the table for them.
It's obviously tough for these 3 other squads in that group with LNG and Hanwha Life, but hey,
enjoy the lessons you're gonna get from Tarzan. That's all I gotta say.
Enjoy those lessons, and then listen, take them into the best of 5s because they're going to be playing some of these knockout rounds against some of the teams from the other group, and you never know what's going to happen in play-ins. All of these regions in the last 2 years, even more so, have stepped up their level of competition, and that's why it makes play-ins so much more fun to watch when these minor region teams are absolutely at a new level these days.
Yeah, and it certainly is one with these minor region teams that don't put the big dogs, don't put LNG, the Cloud9s, don't put them on too much of a pedestal, because absolutely you should be looking at them. You should be looking at the teams, everything else, the power level, and being of, this is where we want to get to the next level. And at the same time, you can't be putting them too much ahead of yourselves. Believe in why you got to here in the first place is something that I would stress for these minor region teams.
I just wouldn't be shocked if Beyond or Cloud9, you see them going 2-2, somehow finishing 3rd in their group, and then they're playing Hanwha or LNG, and one of our Pool 1 seeds is going to be eliminated before the 16, or the top 16 even starts off. And then the madness happens when you're fitting in all these groups. That's the dream scenario Cloud9 wants, right? So that they don't have to go into that Group A of death.
That is the dream. The dream is making sure that you don't have that automatic pass into FPX and Damn One Gaming Land. So
really, Cloud9 secretly hoping LNG finishes first, so they go right through. Hoping Hanwha gets second, throw a game so that they finish third. Play, it's a very, if they execute that plan, round of applause for the Cloud9 boys. But
it's the Rube Goldberg type of plan, though, my man. You got to get a lot of dominoes falling in the right direction to make that happen.
And then you have to beat Hanwha in a best of 5, which that's going to be shaky at best for the boys from Cloud9. We may not have Worlds, but we had, we'll call it Academy Worlds. It's not the name anymore, but we had Proving Grounds, the finals, 100 Thieves Academy versus Team Liquid Academy, and 100 Thieves. They're sweeping the podium of the LCS, Mark, even with Tenacity and Kenvi, 2 of their star Academy players. They're over in Iceland boot camping with the main LCS squad. So who do we have subbing in? None other than Gamsu in the top lane, who was playing on 100 Thieves next, which is, the tier below the Academy squad. If you've been following the LCS for a while, Gamsu's a familiar name, used to be on Dignitas, had a great feature about him being a chef for the team, and then he leaves for 3 years to play Overwatch, wins a championship, now he's back playing League of Legends and wins a title. What an incredible career arc for him.
It's insane. Number one, good on you getting out of Overwatch when you did.
Good timing. Yep.
Yes, escaping that ship is pretty smart choice. And look, sliding on into Nadeshot's crew to pick up a trophy at the Academy level. All good, my man, for Gamsu. Feeling pretty happy with that. I know Proving Grounds is something that, there's been a lot of this year, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of it all the way through. But seeing this progress from the 100 Thieves Academy squad and to cap it off, clinching this title, absolutely got to give props over to that organization.
And we know Gamsu is the tankiest of boys, played top lane on Dignitas, loved playing tanks, goes to Overwatch, he's playing Winston, playing tanks every game for them, playing Ornn in this series. Not many people are playing Ornn right now, but he talked in the winner's interview. He basically started playing League again a year ago and found a team 5 or 6 months ago, and then he wins a trophy. That's a pretty quick trajectory back into the pro scene.
And you want to talk about, to any type of degree, just like actual innate raw skill, which I know sounds somewhat strange to talk about with esports and League of Legends specifically. You're talking about a guy that's able to go professional in another game, step back, come back into League of Legends, and pick up. This game has not stayed stagnant, stale, the same since the day he left. Talk about the changes within 1 year, 2, 3 years. Holy moly, my man picking it back up. If
he hasn't been paying attention to the scene at all, I can't imagine that first time logging into a game going, what the hell are all these items? What does Viego do? What?
I would love to know. The best way usually it is engaging when people have either started or left League of Legends is what was the last time you played, what was the most recent champion. I'd love to know what his was. Because I tell you what, it has to be way before 200 years crept into this game.
Yeah, and then you say, let me show you the highlights of some of the stuff you've missed. Aphelios montage, Viego montage.
The nightmares.
And all of a sudden he says, maybe I'm going to uninstall this client, actually.
Maybe esports isn't for me.
Yeah, Valorant looks pretty fun. Maybe I'll slide into that one. The other quick thing about this series was Inori had to sub in for Team Liquid Academy throughout the summer split. He had been the coach for them. Sounds like he was even in the Reddit thread saying he is officially retiring, going to be coaching for Team Liquid. Team Liquid has a fantastic coaching staff now, by the way.
Absolutely fantastic coaching staff. If they're adding in Inori, the experience that he has, the lessons that he has, learned and gone throughout his career, his outlook on the game, absolutely love that for the Team Liquid staff. And again, just refocusing in on Proving Grounds and everything it's been this year, I think absolutely a big step forward and positive success for the LCS and for the Academy scene with some of the things that have happened this year. Not all of it positive, absolutely. There's some negative stuff going on behind the scenes, sure. But for the overall player growth, I think that this was certainly a double thumbs up year.
And the biggest thing is casters, analysts, players alike are all talking about Proving Grounds. And I think it's getting much more attention, which means it's only going to improve the developmental scene in the LCS, which is something they so desperately need. That is it, though, today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys, as always. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.